Hey everybody, welcome back. So in this tutorial, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show everyone how to make a simple bar graph. I've already got some data that are entered in here. This is sort of an imaginary survey. If you were to ask people what their favorite pizza toppings are, you might get some data, something like this. And this data table works. I can tell that 18 people like cheese and 9 people liked olives. But if I was to put this in a graph, because graphs are pictures, it's going to get the same information across, but do it a lot more easily. So where do graphs live inside of Excel? They live up here in the Insert tab. So if I click on Insert, this is where the charts are. They're all in the center here. But what kind of chart to make? Because I'm doing a comparison of different kinds of pizza toppings, bar graphs work best for comparisons. So what I want to make a graph of are these numbers. So since I've got 6 values here, I'm going to have a bar graph that has 6 bars on it. And here's how that works. I'm going to go ahead and select the values, and then I'm going to go up here to where the bar graphs are. When I click on that, I can hover over each of these to get like a little bit of a preview of what the graph is going to look like. So there's a really simple 2-dimensional column graph. There's a 3-dimensional. If you want to do something interesting where you turn the bars on the side, you can do that also. But I'm just going to go ahead and select the simplest 2-dimensional column bar graph. And it looks pretty decent right there. One of the things, though, that you may notice right away is that some information is missing in this graph. And that title is a pretty awful title. So we're going to need to make some changes. Let's go ahead and change the title first. If I click on the graph, notice that I get all of these little drag points here, so I can change the size if I want to. This is going to be really useful for you if maybe the graph you make is too small or too big and you want to change the size, you can do that. But I can also click on elements within the graph. So right now the whole graph is selected. I just want the title. So if I click on the title, I'm going to double click on it. Now I can go ahead and change what the title is. Favorite pizza toppings of students at IHS, for example. That's a much better title than chart title. Now another thing you'll notice is missing is I don't have an axis label over here on the y-axis. I also don't have a label down here on the x-axis. So if I click on the graph again, this little plus symbol shows up. This plus symbol is where I can add in some of the elements that are missing, like the axis titles, for example. Click, there we go. Now I have the axis titles. They're pretty bad titles. It needs to be something other than axis title, right? So let's go ahead and change this one. This one is going to be number of people, right? And then this one down here, well, this is kind of strange because they're numbers down there. This should be toppings. So I'm going to have to change this because what Microsoft Excel is doing is it's defaulting to just numbers. This is column 1, this is column 2, but I want this to say cheese and I want this to say pepperoni and so on. So just like you can click on the title or an axis label or another axis label, I can even click on the values themselves. So I can click on the y-axis values or the x-axis values. Now that I've selected the x-axis values, I'm going to do a right click. And it gives me a little menu here. So I'm selecting the horizontal axis numbers, and I'm going to tell it I want to select what data to use. Right now, Excel is selecting the data, and it's selecting numbers 1 through 6. I want to select the data, though, so I'm going to click on this, and here it is, horizontal axis labels, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, that's why Excel is doing that, because it's using numbers. So I'm going to have to edit that. So I'm going to click Edit, and I'm ready to select what range of values, what range of information do I want to use to actually label my axis. So if I go over here, all I have to do is click and drag. There we go. And look, it already changed it down here. Cheese, pepperoni, olives, onions, bell peppers, mushrooms. I'm going to click OK. I'm going to click OK again. Now it's looking even better. I need to change this though. I'm going to go ahead and call this toppings, right? And now the last thing that I want to show you is just some formatting stuff, because This graph, it's done, it works, but the fact that all of the bars are the same color, that's a little weird. So what I can do is, just like I showed you how you can click on the entire graph, you can also click on individual elements within the graph. So let's say I click on the cheese bar. All of the bars are highlighted. But if I click again on the cheese bar, now just the cheese bar is highlighted. Now what I can do is I can go ahead and format my cheese bar. So if I right click and I do format data point, it brings up this little menu over here. Right? I've got my cheese bar highlighted, and I'm going to select this little paint can right here. The paint can is what's going to allow me to change some of the features of that bar. If I look here, I see that things are already chosen for me. It defaulted the cheese color to blue, but I want to make my cheese color orange because cheese is orange. I can also change the color of the border that goes around it. So right now the border is, there's no border right there. I can add in a border if I wanted to. I can click on the pepperoni. So I'm going to click again so that I change pepperoni. What color is pepperoni? Pepperoni is sort of a reddish color. So I'm going to go ahead and check reddish color. I'm going to put no border around it. I'm going to check olives, color olives. Olives, well, some olives are green, some olives are black. Let's go with black olives. Black olives, I'm going to give it no line. Onions are green. Let's make the onions green, if it's green onions. No line. Bell peppers, let's make them yellow bell peppers. So we're going to put some yellow bell peppers on the pizza. And then mushrooms. Mushrooms are sort of a weird sort of tannish color. Let's call it that. There we go. Now I have a bar graph created with each of the bars a different color, and it makes it a heck of a lot easier to read. Now, all of that formatting stuff that I clicked through really quickly, that's all stuff that you can play around with on your own. Just be aware that if you want to change just one feature, you need to make sure that you're only selecting that one feature. So right now, all of the bars are selected. If I just want to change bell pepper, I have to click again so that only bell peppers are highlighted. All right, so that's a real simple bar graph. I'm going to show you some other types of graphs you can make in later episodes. Thanks for watching. Till later.